Okay, so I'm just going to tell the story how it really happened, because obviously trying to tell it in a TV voice doesn't really work. Anyway, back in 2007, I was working on this book, Adland, A Global History of Advertising, and I tried to include in the book the stories of as many different agencies as I could find. But there's only a couple of paragraphs devoted to Grey, and I'll tell you why. In fact, I couldn't find out much information about the history of Grey, and I certainly couldn't find out who its founders were. Now the mystery's been solved, because apparently the founders were a couple of Jewish guys called Larry Wallenstein and Arthur C. Fatt. The reason they didn't put their names on the door and just called themselves Grey is because anti-Semitism was rife at the time, and they were worried that because they were Jewish they wouldn't get enough clients. Advertising was run by a largely white Anglo-Saxon Protestant crowd. Cut to 2017, and Grey London put this injustice right by rebranding themselves as Wallenstein and Fatt for 100 days. So have a look at this story about two undiscovered madmen and their return to fame.
It's 1917. Your city is prospering like never before, and you've just set up a company. Your biggest worry? Putting your own name on the door. You're Jewish. Anti-Semitism is commonplace in a predominantly white Protestant industry.
There were no Jewish agencies and there were no Jewish people in advertising. It was a business conducted by white men on golf courses, at country clubs that Larry and Arthur did not have access to.
Lawrence Wallenstein and Arthur C. Fatt are names that could cost you business. So you call it Grey, the color of the wallpaper in your office.
I think it's a tragedy in many ways that Wallenstein and Fatt call themselves Grey. But I can understand it. In 1920s in the United States, the sense of the great American melting pot was more of a myth than a reality. You didn't want to stand out.
If they'd used their own names, they would have failed.
I don't think they talked about their faith, and I don't think their Jewishness was part of their identity in business.
It's 2017, and Grey has offices in 96 countries. Discrimination and the inevitable sting of fear and hate it brings should be banished to history. But somehow, history is repeating itself.
Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall.
So to honor our founders, we're making a statement against intolerance and prejudice by doing what Lawrence and Arthur couldn't back in 1917. We're putting their names on our door, a symbol of where we're from, how far we've come, and how much there's still left to be done.
I think if Larry and Arthur were around today, they would probably be shocked and honored that they could use their names on the business and hang it on the door. I don't think Wallenstein and Fatt should have to hide themselves anymore, and they shouldn't.
Most people in the advertising industry, the name Wallenstein, it means really nothing. My father, having been one of the most successful figures in the advertising industry, I think it's wonderful that he's finally being recognized.
I hope that when other agencies see this film, that they'll take a look at their own agency and think about the role of diversity and how important it is.
I think Wallenstein and Fatt would think, that's fantastic. And I guess they would be looking down now and saying, we won. We won.